Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 67. I am really trying hard not to be over ecstatic about my very, very special guest that I am so privileged to have today. Of course, it's none other than Glenn Marsden, the amazing founder of the world's fastest growing mental health organization, the Imperfectly Perfect Campaign. I have not prepared any normal introduction for you today, since if you have been following me at least for a week or two, you know that Glenn is constantly being mentioned because I have had this wonderful wisdom to start sharing his awesome content on LinkedIn. I am telling you this because before we get into anything, you need to check this amazing person's content. His story is more than inspirational. He has given so much unbelievable wisdom, mind-blowing life and business advice, something that I've not seen anywhere else. And I cannot be more grateful than to have him with us today. Now, the title of our episode is The Story You Are Set On, Somebody is Waiting to Hear, because this is the very exciting book that Glenn is about to launch this year. And I would love it if you could bear with me for just a few more seconds, because I want to share with you my personal experience with Glenn. Okay, and now I'm being mindful, as I told Glenn earlier, not to talk too much because I need to remember that he's the guest. I could talk about him for hours on end, for days on end, because since May of 2022, and it was actually in April of 2022 when I saw him interview a friend of his, and there was something really special about the way that he presented himself. Talk about energy from one screen to another, from one place of the earth to another. And ever since, I have discovered that, okay, you can be extremely spiritual, lead by your heart, lead with your big ambition to just change the world, and be extremely kind, be so full of wisdom that you are willing to put out there. And the thing is that since I have been following Glenn and I have had the privilege to be in his amazing energy, the things that he has very well explained just made me think, well, this is so obvious. Why have I not been thinking about this before? And this has happened, I believe, since November, since he began putting more of his story out there. And it gets you thinking, not only that you just don't know the things that you don't know, but the obvious that's right in front of you, unless there's someone with a huge heart like Glenn has, you just don't see it. And I read a part of his story yesterday on LinkedIn again, and I was thinking, I thought that I was such a bright person, but why have I not thought about this before? So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome with a virtual applause my very special and amazing guest, Glenn Marsden. Welcome, Glenn.
Wow, what an introduction there for me. I felt like taking a bow. Thank you.
What a great pleasure. And I have not written anything, Glenn. No notes, no nothing. Well, I just wrote down the title of your book because it's so important that I didn't want to mess any word up. Very happy to have you here with us. And it's been a while since we have had our podcast episode, and to see you have your own book is extremely thrilling. And I'm so ecstatic. If you want to share more about what is going to happen in this amazing piece of content that you are putting out there?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, first and foremost, what I do want to say is just ladies and gentlemen, like listening to Roxana and the energy and just seeing how much you've flourished and come to life. And we have done some work over the past few months. So the podcast may have been a long time ago, but it's certainly changed a lot coming to fruition. And I've just seen you flourish and go from strength to strength. So as somebody who does help people quite a lot, to see that is pure testimony that as I talk about spirituality or I speak about God, that's testimony to him, how he's used me to fulfill and push into your life. And just to see you excel at things, whether personally, whether professionally, and it's amazing because you can see the energy emanating from the screen. I know this is a podcast, but you normally put it on YouTube. So, guys, I'd actually recommend to sit down with a nice cup of tea. I am Yorkshire, I am English, and just watch it. You can just see the energy, and this is the whole thing, guys. This is the book as well. The story you sat on, somebody out there is waiting to hear. If you want to be around energy where people collectively come together and feel that it's led, that you can share your story, that when you was going through a time of adversity or struggle, if you would have had that book, that story in your hands, that would have given you that piece of wisdom, that encouragement to know that you're not alone. And I know we've all been through our own personal struggles, and I know it's been hard at times. Those adversities we can actually look back at now. I can, and I know your personal experience, what we've spoke about and we've gone through. You look back and now they're blessings because it's made you become the person that you are today. It never feels nice to go through them, but it's certainly taught you resilience. It's taught you the strength that you actually have. And if you can go through that and get to the other side, you can accomplish the world. And this is what the book is. Not only do you get a chance to be a part of a collective and inspire millions around the world, but be a part of a legacy. The Imperfectly Perfect campaign, I'm very grateful for, and I never take it for granted. But it's got some of the world's biggest names from every country, every demographic. You've got celebrity co-authors joining us, endorsements from celebrities. I mean, this is a follow-up because it is the first one, the first edition of IPC alone. We did a collective one. Again, that was amazing. But with this one, I'm doing it my way, my own way. And I want to bring people along that journey to show them that once you do get around the right energy and you do learn to tap inwards rather than look at the external side of things and the ego, which we all have at times, just watch your business, watch your personal life soar, just like Roxana's. I get so passionate when I talk about it because the change that you see in people, would you not want that to 10x in the next 10 people? We often see in this entrepreneurial world, I can 10x your business, I can do this. I'll turn around and say, you know what? I can 10x your attitude and your confidence, and then you can go out there and do it yourself. Amen.
Wow, I love what you just said. I can 10x your attitude, and it's about that. And I actually wanted to ask you, how do you feel about people just promising something that they're not 100% confident that they can help their clients with, yet they keep on pushing, and many people fall into this trap of the ego because it's an ego game at the end of it all, isn't it?
It is. And you know what? There would have been a time in the past. I'm not here to preach because we all have to go through experiences. And you rightly put it at the beginning. We don't know what we don't know. So when you step out, whether it's this field of entrepreneurship and you're seeing everyone doing this, this, and this, and you're seeing these highlights, the Imperfectly Perfect campaign was about disrupting these highlights because people put masks on. And that's how mental health struggles happen. That's how we suddenly lose people. And I wanted to disrupt it all. I wanted to disrupt corporate silence and hit that entrepreneur space as well. What did I do? I got some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship to share the realities that the majority of them, if people really do learn to be humbled, can go, hold on a minute. These truly successful people who have built generational wealth actually say the same thing and say, it took me over 10 years to become this overnight success. That everybody these days is posting a highlight and basically telling you they can 6, 7 figure you each month. They can 10x your business. But yet, how can you do that on a 12-week program, especially in a group setting? I don't know your trigger points. I don't know what you've gone through personally. How am I going to get you to 10x your business or 6, 7 figures within such a short period of time without even knowing the strategy behind your business, what you're doing, what you're trying to do, gaining your credibility, gaining your authority, gaining you the confidence to step out there? Because as you go through business, what I've learned, new levels, new devils. when we think we have got to a certain part and we've passed it, another lesson or a curveball will come. And once you think, and I hear it all the time, set your boundaries, say no to people, say this. And this is one of the reasons I share my stories, because through them, like you said, people read wisdom through them. And I'm grateful for it because wisdom is free. It's your story, it's your experience that can help somebody. And I know it's helped you and it's helped a lot of people who message me. And this one about set your boundaries, say no. I used to be like that and say, I can say no to anybody. And then one of my experiences I'll share really quick was that somebody of a different caliber came towards the campaign and suddenly started trying to push something onto it. And I'd said no, but they wouldn't take no as a reason to stop pushing. By the end of it, luckily, I had somebody that was brought onto my path who had experience in law, and I hadn't agreed to anything. So through text messages, through emails, it just kept on saying no, 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 no. But because they were on a different level, I didn't know how to handle that. So as much as we can say from the ego, I've set boundaries, no, I can say no to anybody. What happens if they push back on that no and they've got a team behind them and you don't know how to respond to that? Luckily for me, and I say, I'll give God testimony that he placed someone on my path, a lawyer, that read it and sent a cease and desist letter out straight away. Back on my journey, I didn't even know what a bloody cease and desist letter was, but that stopped it. And I learned from that experience, everybody can say anything. Highlight reels can portray anything. But you sometimes have to go down this dark path to learn who you truly are, who you're always meant to be. Because if you can't get through those and you end up quitting, how can we really think that we can run a 6-7 figure month of business, a 10x business, a multi-million-dollar organizations, if we can't get through these little lessons along the way? And if we can try and revert and change the narrative in the head and go, oh God, here we go again, another lesson. What do I do? Let's roll my sleeve up. I'm ready for this challenge. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but you know what? I've got faith I'll get through it. And I always get through it, even though it's hard. You learn experiences. You know, some recent that I went through, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this one? But I did it, and I came out with a blessing. I came out with another story through an experience to share with my audience, and they're literally going, oh my God. So it is this ego, and we can't take away that we've all got an ego. We're indoctrinated from a early age through school system, through everything else, fame, money, this, entrepreneurship. When you go through this, you hear a little bit of the struggles, but normally you hear the struggles after someone's become successful. I wanted to disrupt that. Like, you know, I've shared each struggle along my journey. I'm still not where I need to be, but I know I'm a long way before. And if you don't share those struggles along the way, I think that for me ultimately disperses that ego, gets rid of it, and it actually shows people integrity, trust. You are what you say you are. You actually walk the walk, and you've had failures. You've had failures, you've had lows, you've had highs, but you're still walking.
Wow, just listening to this, I could ask you a million questions, and I'm just trying to make sure that our audience gets the best of your amazing wisdom, Bobs. And I'm thinking, you mentioned your story. It's beyond mind-blowing because I read half of it and I'm thinking, how did this guy just get up and continue again and again and again? It is insane how God is constantly pushing you because you keep your faith. You truly believe in what has been laid on your heart. And you mentioned something that kind of spoke to me, and I have a feeling that our audience would love to hear about this. People pleasing. Glenn, how would you say that it's the best way to deal with someone that is, as you said, as you've had this experience, pushing? They want things from you for free. And you're maybe at the beginning of your journey. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to say no from the start for someone that's at the beginning of their journey as an entrepreneur. What do you think the best advice would be to deal with people pleasing?
See, it depends where you are on your journey. This day and age, everyone wants success so quick. And it's because of, sadly, these online entrepreneurs that are saying you can get it. 1%, let's face it, may get it through e-commerce or crypto. But then again, those people have not simply learned that themselves. So they've probably acquired quite a bit of money to pay a mentor who's truly going to show them how to do crypto. Like it's not just going to be an overnight, oh, I made $1 million. Maybe someone got lucky. Do you know what I mean? It happens. Miracles happen all the time. So I'm not taking that away. But a lot of the times it is levels. When you are starting out, if you are not prepared to do free shit, then you can't expect people to help you on your journey. If you're not going to invest in other people that you look up to or you are inspired by, if you're not going to invest into their energy or their time, or you just think, hey, I'm going to reach out to this person because they need to look at me because why? Like, you're not on their level. And look, I can say this now because I'm on a level where I've walked my journey and I share everything because I shared when I was on construction, 12 hours a day, 7 days, 6 days a week, 7 days sometimes, and all this. I've gone through it all. And when you said it's like, when you read my story, you're like, how did he get back up? And you know, the analogy that popped in my head was like a bloody squash, a squash game or tennis. And it's like this ball that keeps getting hit and then keeps getting back up and then keeps getting hit. It feels like that at times. But if you can do that, look where I am now. But if you're not prepared, like when I did photography, right, that was my passion. How did I think about it? Okay, I want to build credibility. So how am I going to get in front of people that are somebody? Well, I'm not just going to reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, you should shoot with me because I'm the shit. I'm amazing. You need to be humbled. Those people are where they are because they've worked their arse off. They're not just going to open the door for you. And that's where a lot of people get wrong. And if you can't be humbled, you're too much in your ego. And that ain't good because you're going to keep going in a cycle and you're not going to get anywhere. And a lot of times, if you try and humble people and they're not ready for it, they'll attack. That's not on you. That's something that they're insecure about, and you're bringing it up. I love to be humbled. The more and more successful people I get in front of, if they say something to me, I'm like, give it to me. Tell me, because I can't grow unless I don't know. Well, you're doing this wrong. Okay, so tell me how I could do it better. Doesn't mean to say I'm going to do it their way, because when you do it someone else's way at times, you're giving your power to them and you're not trusting yourself and your own abilities. But if people are on this journey and they're not prepared to do free things or invest, then you can't expect to grow. And it sounds so cliche because people say, once I invested in myself, then I saw a change, then I started growing. But yeah, there's some people on this journey going, well, I'm not investing. I like don't have the cash to invest. Okay, so let me tell you this. You don't have the cash to invest. What can you do then? Because if you're not willing to humble yourself, you're not willing to do free stuff, you can't expect anyone to open doors for you. Everyone who's successful, who you look up to, has had to do free stuff along the way to get themselves noticed, or they've had to pay to get noticed. So people that reach out to me, oh, Glenn, I'd love to collaborate. Okay, well, if you're on the same level as me, and I don't like saying that word level because it just sounds, I'm very humble. I haven't got an ounce of ego in me. But what I'm talking about is that level where you have to realize on business, okay, so Glenn's got an international platform, organization, got all these celebrities, got all this publicity. You reach out to me, you haven't got any of that. And you're just coming out to me going, I'd love to collaborate. Okay, well, I know what you're going to get. What am I going to get from this? Like, because how can I do what I'm trying to do and impact people and help people for free if you're not pouring into me? So I'm giving my time to you to what? Leverage you, get you next to celebrities, get you what, like you can attach yourself to all this on my podcast, on this, and this. And yet I'm still here going, I've invested in my time into that. And I'm trying to get help to all these people who are struggling with mental health. Oh, you're on fire because you've just got a part of one of the largest movements going. Glenn's just here, wasted his time again. So all that. But then if someone came to me and said, you know what? I'd love to help you. This is what I'm qualified in. I'm happy to give free time if you can lend me a bit of experience, knowledge, but don't ever go to someone who's successful, or it depends what success looks like, but don't ever come to people and expect that just because you're going to do something free for them, that they're going to let you attach themselves to what you're doing. It takes trust, it takes integrity, it takes relationship building. And sadly, because of this short success narrative that people put out there on social media, people just think it's going to happen for them and they don't have to put that work in. And anyone that's truly struggled and all those times that I've had to get back up and keep on walking, I ain't going to make it easy for anybody. And none of these people above me have made it easy for me neither. But I'm grateful for it.
It got you to just want to do more. Actually, it got you to just want to be more than anything. Because in order to get to that level, although, as you said, you don't really like that word, but I'm sure that everyone understands that you need to put in work in order to do anything that is of value. And you mentioned being humble. I can honestly say that I still remember last summer's amazing July mentoring session that we have had. And I want to tell our audience a bit about that experience because number one, you cannot do this alone. I am going to tell you a bit about the threshold that our mind has. And I think that Glenn can agree on this. I do believe in self-coaching, but there is just so much that you can work on your own by yourself. You need someone that can truly not push your triggers, but take you beyond what your mind understands as the pain threshold, because we just cannot truly harm ourselves. And it may sound a bit dramatic, but please bear with me, because the second point that I wanted to say here is that you need to see things from a whole new perspective in order to be humbled. So I'm not going to disclose too much about that unbelievable experience that I have had thanks to Glenn's amazing guidance and wisdom in that humbling exercise. The thing is that you need to have someone that is 100% ego-free in that moment. And Glenn can do that because the way that he just uses his heart, he's channeling something that's beyond him. You can feel that he's there to serve you. And I've not experienced this anywhere with anyone ever. That's why I wanted you, my fearless friend, the one that's watching us and listening to us now, to have a talk with Glenn. Go to glennmarsden.com or go to Glenn's amazing social media profiles. I've already mentioned LinkedIn. You need to check his amazing content. You need to check his story. Talk about being mind blown and having aha moments and awareness and breakthroughs every single day. It's like I'm constantly getting new things out of his amazing way of just making it very extremely relatable. Now, Glenn's someone that has been able to just get his mindset to serve. He just wants to give, to offer you the best wisdom out there. But as he said, you need to be able to invest in yourself. You need to be willing to do the work. You need to be willing to invest in him as well, because it's very funny, my fearless friend, if you get to think about where he is now, you cannot expect to get free stuff from someone that has been through such hardship and more than that. So have a talk with Glenn and see what it means to be humble. Again, and Glenn, I need to stress this. You just cannot have this experience by yourself, because as much as I would have wanted to have this depth and understanding and great personal development with myself, through myself only, it's just impossible, because it was such an out of this world experience to put myself in the position where I could lose it all. And I'm just getting emotional when I'm thinking about it. You can kind of see yourself when you lose it all, but it's more than that. And oh my God, I think I have said too much.
She's going.
It's tough to just stop when I'm thinking about all of the amazing support that you have offered me. It's something surreal. And our fearless friends watching us and listening to us, you can experience this. Just have a talk with Glenn and read his content, and you don't have to believe me. Don't take my word for it. Just go and read a piece of his content. Be around his amazing energy. And okay, stopping now before I talk more, I wanted to ask you, Glenn, since we are stories about fear, can you maybe share with us a great lesson that fear may have taught you recently?
Ooh, good question. Fear. I actually don't know because everything that my journey has brought me through, I've become fearless. And I think that is your whole premise about how to step out, be confident and fearless and become that leader that you were always meant to. And for me to answer that, probably at the start of my journey, like anyone on entrepreneurship, there's so much fear into the unknown. We tap into the logic, we tap into the ego, we have fear of what other people think, we have fear of this, that, and the other. And if I can say anything to tap out of that fear and move into that fearless leader that you want to be, it's more than just this external bravado in confidence, like fake it till you make it. Like for me, that's BS. Like that whole premise of fake it till you make it used to be about a confidence boost, so walking in a meeting and just putting it on and just feeling confident in that moment. But these days, through marketing, through how everyone just uses these trendy words, it's like fake it till you make it. And it's literally turned into I'm living in Bali and I'm making all this money and this, and they literally are faking it and just hoping they can manipulate enough people to make it. Like, and that's no judgment on people because, as I said, people don't know what they don't know and they're looking around at what other people do. But that fearless thing, if I can just go back for a second, in terms of that exercise that you did, you can go straight back into that memory and pull it out, that pivotal moment where you were in floods of tears. And that just got you going where you was going, which is why you changed conversation really, really fast. But it was such a pivotal moment for you because when you realize through that exercise, I still have all the time in the world. What am I doing?
Oh.
You shifted gear from fear to being fearless. That thing, what we often do where we're scared of being judged by other people. Like now you can look at it through exercises that we've done and you go, I honestly couldn't give a stuff because at the end of the day, they're not building my business. They're not putting food on the table for my little girl and my husband. They're not doing anything for my relationship. And if they're not pouring into me or investing into me, well, I'm certainly not going to give my time and worry about that aspect. And a lot of the time, fear is projected because of insecurities that people put on based on what they're going through. My story, I share it all the time. People have been naysayers, or you're never going to do this, or you're never going to. No, you mean you're never going to do it. Because that question that you just referred to about the fear, with being fearless, I don't know how I'm going to do half the stuff I'm going to do. I just have faith that I know it's just going to come to fruition. And it is doing. It's rolling more and more. And what I want to say is that fear that anything, when I do help people, you have to feel it in your heart. If you connect with this energy, you reach out to me, you see for yourself. I don't need to be poaching and prodding and all this stuff, which is why through LinkedIn anywhere, I immediately share my story. I don't pitch my service. I don't, you can go and you can look further into it. I get enough referrals coming to me. But why I'm saying that is because if there's one guy who didn't have experience, who didn't or wasn't qualified to do what he's done in such a short amount of time, then go figure. No highlights, being imperfect, being himself, building relationships, learning patience, getting rid of fear to become fearless, and getting that God-given confidence to go, you know what, I can make a change in this world. Took a movement global in 12 months, got the world's biggest names behind him. Podcast that's just hit organically over 500,000 downloads with no payment or anything. Some organizations are getting funded millions of dollars a year, but yet there's this guy who managed to do all this on his own, and yet they're paying six-figure salaries to each other, and they're having social media teams of like 9, 10 people. And that, again, that's no judgment on them, but it goes to show you someone who's unassuming, who's not qualified to do it, suddenly outshines the rest of them with no ego, but by being humble and teaches people how to do the exact same thing. Wouldn't you want to be around somebody? And I've had mentors that have taught me this as well. And that's why I'm around them, because of energy. Somebody who's not trying to portray or push onto you what they want you to do. Because there's one thing, and I'm sure you can attest, Roxana, I always say, if you're with a coach, they can tell you what to do. But if you're hanging on their every single word, you're handing your power over to somebody and you're not giving yourself the ability to tune into your own intuition. How many times do I say to you each time, Roxana, we will go through an exercise, we will go that. But I'm like, how does that make you feel? Does this sit well with you? Because I'm not you. You're on your journey. And when you spoke about you need somebody else, you do. Because we look in a one peripheral vision. Like we can't see what external people look on the outside. Like you sometimes need someone to say, hang on a minute, your business could do better in this area, or this is what you're portraying about, or on social media, or on LinkedIn. And I can say, hand on heart, I feel disconnected from LinkedIn half the time because it's the same generic stuff. I went off for about a year. I came back on, the same people are writing the same stuff. And I'm just like, what? It's just pitch after pitch after pitch. I want to connect and then pitch and then pitch. And then I'm like, come on, guys, we need a new way of the world. Like, let's take it, because these people who are truly unassuming, unqualified, all this seem to be like actually making change in this world. So there must be something to it.
Wow. I'm laughing because you do have a great name for Instagram and for LinkedIn. And that's fine because, as you said, no judgment here. Each and every one of us has their journey. And in order for someone to be successful, whatever successful that may mean to them, Glenn, what would you say that the first thing for them to work on, what would that number one thing be? If I may say first, I would tell them to just have a talk with you before, more than anything, because having the big picture as you can offer to people is priceless. It's extremely valuable. But what would you say that someone that's maybe at the beginning of their journey, wanting to be more out there, what should they focus on?
Firstly, you need to tell people the name that I have for the social media platforms. So we've got Instagram, which is Instafabulous. And then you've got Facebook, which is Fake Book. And then you've got LinkedIn, which is Instagram on steroids. So just to preface that, guys. But if you're on this start of this journey, I will say start to enjoy the process. And again, it sounds cliche, but when you hear, and I'm talking about when you hear the truly successful people, read autobiographies. For God's sake, if there's anything I can say, find out someone you are inspired by, someone who is successful, who's actually across media outlets, they are known predominantly for their industry. And not just because they're on the public eye or anything like that, because there's a lot of people I know, millionaires, billionaires, all this, I'm very grateful for. Nobody would know who they are. They don't want to be seen. And this is one of the big things I teach you all the time. It's like all these people who are flashing the cash and they're flashing all this. Like these truly successful people would not be flashing that much cash because they'd be scared of the tax man coming after it. Like, and it's these things we don't think of because sometimes when we're struggling, we're looking for a quick answer. So if you're on the start of this entrepreneurship, don't look left, don't look right, be yourself And you will notice energetically and spiritually, you'll connect with the people that are trying to find you. If you're looking at every other person and what they're doing, you're going to be pivoting too much and you're not consistent. The truly successful people, and I always say that and really pivotal thing going truly, because I'm talking about the ones that really are making a difference, they notice everything. So a lot of my success has come from people who pay attention to the consistency. Glenn, you do not stop. And you'll notice Gary Vee talks about you need to be consistent, consistent, consistent. People mistake that and go, I'm not getting engagement, but I'm doing 3 posts a day. I'm doing 4 posts a day. Gary Vee's intent is good. He'll be like, if you get in front of enough people, the right person, it takes one person to notice your work ethic and your consistency to never give up. And that will make a big difference. Don't lie, whatever you're doing, because they see through that bullshit as well. I see through it so much, and I'm on this part of my journey. So you imagine someone who's on a really high, they've seen it all. They've been there, they've done there, they've got the t-shirt, they've struggled, they've sacrificed. I once had a meeting. He was a multi-billionaire. And I will say, I was shitting myself going into that meeting because I was like, what have I got in common with a billionaire? But I was like, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. And he sat there and he said to me, tell me your story. And I did. And I was like, and it's been one of the hardest bloody things I've ever done. I've lost money. I've done this. I've done this. And he said, Glenn, I want to stop you. It was like, that is so similar to my story and a lot of people's. He said, if you'd have come in and talked about all the highlights and about what you'd done and about what you'd achieved and the success and that, he said, this meeting would have been over. He says, because it's not the truth. Successful people know the truth. They're not trying to highlight it. They don't need to push it, to manipulate, to sell, because they're living it. They can share their story. They can talk about any generic crap they want to. But as I said to you, you look on this scale and you look at like people on the streets, they haven't got anything. So you see all these what they call these experiences that people do, social experiments and stuff. And somebody will just walk up to a person on the street and go, oh, I need $5. I need $5. Now this person who's got nothing on the street has got a little cup full of change, and he goes into it and he gives him $5. Then you've got the rich people. How do they stay rich and accumulate more wealth? They help each other because they know together they can move. Then you've got this huge percentage of the population, and I'm not saying everybody, but the majority. And if you can humble yourself and be honest with yourself, it's compete, compare, judge. I'm not going to get you successful until I'm successful. It's the wrong way of thinking. The more people you can help become successful, the more you're going to grow. And there's about 1%, a bit more, who will learn that and move into the next stage. And then people would say, well, how do those people on the streets go to the next stage? I'm like, have you ever heard of the miracles or experiences where suddenly a homeless person has become a multimillionaire? They've won the lottery out of the blue, or somebody just picked them up and offered them one of the greatest experiences in their life, and now they've just turned around. You've heard all those stories. They make movies on those stories. They learned the art of being selfless. The middle group tends to be selfish. And that, for me, if you can learn to be selfless, then whether you're spiritual, like I always say, hand on heart, with God's testimony, I was selfless for a long time. I put everyone before me to the point where I even questioned it going, that's to my detriment, because people just think I'm a free resource. They just come to me and take like that. So I had to learn more self-care. But in the scheme of things, with my faith, I've gone, okay, I've actually proved my worth of going, if I didn't have anything, I'd give. So now I've got a lot. I know I can be trusted that I'd give, because I've been at both ends of the spectrum. And my main priority is pouring into people to show them what they can do and get that. But you need to be humbled. You need to get out. And the last point is, if you cannot do what you are portraying you are on social media, say all these people that say they can get you public speaking opportunities, they can get you media, this, that, and the other. I've been around that industry for a long time now with what I've learned. And I've got on the biggest publications. A lot of those are digital publications that these people promise you. They can get you on mainstream media. How many people actually get on mainstream media from any of these digital things and they end up losing money? How many people say they can get you visibility, they can get you this, that, and the other, but yet put in events or do this and they can't even fill an event up? And you're like, you're not in alignment. So you're telling people you can do this because I'll tell you something, if I'm watching you and you're saying you can get all this publicity or you can get me public speaking events and I'm going to pay you and I turn up to one of your events, or if I don't see you on a publication that's talking about what you do, I'm not going to believe you. Social proof. People need to see it so they believe the integrity. And if your business is not where it's supposed to be, it's because people don't see the results.
Wow. This hit hard because I have a feeling, and I have done this as well a few years ago. I would be putting myself out there on social media, just smiling, saying that things are great, that everything's fantastic, that starting a business is so easy and cute and nice, when in fact it's horrible most of the times if you don't have the proper guidance. And I wanted to ask you, Glenn, I just got this question from somewhere. If your 10-year ahead self would give you an advice, what would that advice be? What are your thoughts on this?
So my future self.
Your future 10-year ahead self, yeah.
Keep going on the path that you're going. Keep learning. Learn the art of patience even deeper. Learn to tap in a lot deeper into your faith. And learn to challenge the narrative that the world has told us we need to believe in. That would be the most single-handedly number one, my advice that future self would say, and I'd give to anybody listening to this podcast. Challenge the narrative that the world has taught you to believe about yourself and about the world, because it ain't true.
Wow. This is really powerful, and it just goes back to the masks that you mentioned a few minutes ago. We all put on these masks, and as you said, it's maybe because of fear of the unknown, fear of what other people think, because we kind of seem weak if we share our story, our hard story in a way. This just gets me thinking too, okay, but many other amazing questions that I would have for you. As I said earlier, I could talk about you and with you for days on end. I want to thank you so much for you being so beyond generous with your time, your energy, your wisdom. And it's always such a great honor and a privilege, Glenn. And before we go today, can you please tell our audience, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they see your amazing stuff? Where can they listen to your podcast? Where can they sign up for the book? Please tell us everything.
Thank you. You can literally go to glennmarsden.com, where you will see a lot more about my public speaking. So I don't really promote my mentoring on there no more, because I am predominantly known through being the founder of the IPC, and that's where a lot of my bandwidth is. So as you can imagine, if I do take time to mentor people, they have to invest, because I'm going to invest in them, because my time is better spent with IPC and what I do there. So you can go to imperfectlyperfectcampaign.org. If you do have a story that you are sat on and you do want to inspire the world, then simply go to that website and there's all the information you will ever get, but it has to be led. So one of the things Roxana knows with me is, through my journey, I have the discernment to see through you. So if you're coming for the wrong reasons and you're just merely coming towards something and going, I want to be attached to celebrities, I want this publicity, I want this whole shebang, I'm going to see it, and it's going to be a no. And again, that comes from a humble place. It needs to be led, and it needs to be, the word that I hate, authentic. Because at the end of the day, it's there to inspire people. It's there to impact. And yes, the rest of it, the opportunities, the blessings, the energy, it's all there. You are going to get that. But that's a small part. In my heart, that's a small part. The difference that you can impact, and what I was saying to Roxana before, in terms of if you learn to be selfless, think of being a part of a book, how many people you're going to inspire and impact around the world. You're going to sow seeds into people that you never even knew. And I'll tell you something, for the price it costs, for an email to come back to you to literally say, you saved my life or you saved my kid's life from your story is far better than any amount of success you will ever get. Because if you can save a life, there's no feeling like it. It is boom. Yeah. Shall I finish with this one little story? And I think I'd said it on the first one, so I think it's only right. See if it gets Roxana again, because I find it hard to finish it. But the person that brought me and Roxana together was my good friend Rob Mack, and he taught me, in all seriousness, how much your story can inspire someone. So Rob Mack, international author, should I say, endorsed by Oprah Winfrey, very big, prolific TV presenter, all this, positive psychologist as well. If you think I've got a heart, Roxana, he's got a heart, hasn't he? Rob Mack is unbelievable. He's like my brother from another mother. I can't say enough good words about him, but he was going to an event one day and he was walking down the street through Beverly Hills. He was dressed smart. And if you see Rob, he's a good looking guy. So he walked to the crossroads and there was an older gentleman and a younger guy, presumably his son. And they started talking and they said to Rob, where are you going? Like, you look so good. You're dressed up. And he was like, oh, I'm going to this event. And the younger guy looked at him and saw, because he was wearing short sleeves, he saw this like band around his wrist. And he was like, what's that for? And Rob turned around and is very open. And he said, look, I'll be honest with you. He said, for 17 years of my life, I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sounded. I hated every single thing about me. And I actually researched ways to take my life. He said, I didn't have the resources to get a weapon, so I used a knife. And as I was digging it into my arm, something stopped me and I pulled back. And he said there was like this euphoric feeling, just this serenity. And it pulled him back from doing it. And then he started looking into it and researching, and he got better, learned about psychology, and now he's a positive psychology coach. But at that moment, when he told that kid burst into crying. He just, and nobody knew what had happened. He was like, oh, have I upset you or anything like that? And the kid turned around. It was like, this was my last walk with my father. I was going to go home and take my life tonight. I was like, oh, it gets me every single time. But that, from Rob sharing his story, saved that kid's life that night. He saved a father from having to bury his son. And that is why I do what I do. That single-handedly, if you got a message or if you bumped into somebody and they said the story that you told saved my life or saved my kid's life, money means shit in this world. Like, money's going to be there all the time, but somebody's life isn't. And one of those experiences I went through with Roxana, she got humbled through one of those experiences. And look at her now. Well, look at her now, full tears. But you know what I'm saying? Like, how much you've just grown. So before we finish, I just want to say a big thank you to you and for taking on board a lot of the coaching stuff you've implemented, but you've done it your way as well. So proud of you, mate. You've come a long way since, what was it, April, May 14? So just know your little girl looks up to you, your husband looks up to you, and those around you, you inspire them. So keep going.
Thank you so much. And it was actually funny. Two things are funny. When you said, look at her now, and I was,
yeah.
crying. And, you know, I was thinking, wow, we are towards the end of the episode and I haven't cried. since I
Yeah.
was literally almost every time that I would be talking to you, I'm emotional because it really speaks to me at such a deep level. And I get such phenomenal awareness and understanding as you truly make things extremely relatable. And I am so grateful for all of your amazing support, for everything that you do, for everything that you put out there, for everyone to get inspired. So I'm thankful, first of all, that my makeup is kind of still in place after
Yeah.
all these tears, and very grateful to be in your amazing energy. So our fearless friends watching us and listening to us, go and check Glenn's amazing content. Go to his accounts. He's everywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Insta Fabulous. And he is fabulous because he gives you that soul success that you need. When you have awareness, when you understand, as he just said, how important people's lives are. Money is nothing. You just need to put your heart out there in order to feel that it really makes sense, because Glenn knows, he knows so many people that are extremely wealthy. Maybe some are also wealthy on the inside, but maybe not many. Many still have a lot of work to do on the inside, although they have had the financial success that maybe you are very keen to have. But what's happening in here? How many entrepreneurs are struggling? How many of us have been burning out big time? And I was there as well. So,
Just before you set off, can I just say something to those listening about this lady? Right. So if you go back and you listen to our first podcast, and she's speaking openly about how she was vulnerable more, and she broke down a lot of times in going through it. And then she mentioned on this one, it's taken her till a story which shows she's got heart to listen, to cry. Throughout this whole episode, there's been energy. There's been a frequency off this chart that basically that has shown that all that work that we have done, you're a totally different person. Like, I even recommend you to go back and listen to that episode and watch it and just see you're a totally different person and what you emanate. And lastly, I will say to anybody that listens to this podcast or supports Roxana, are you truly supporting her? Because this world takes an army to get places. And if you are someone in Roxana's corner and you're not subscribing to a show, or you're not commenting, or you're not doing, then now you're really in a corner. And I'm going to say that out of all honesty, and not just towards Roxana, but people talk about it and people will reach out. And Roxana's the sort of person that will pour into anybody, because I know, because I am. But what tends to happen with that is people see it and take advantage of it. You might feel the same way about your experiences. And the only way to break that cycle is to actually show that you're selfless. So if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, or you haven't shared it, or you haven't shared an episode, then why not? Because if you're in someone's corner and you're truly happy for their success and you're coming from a selfless place, you're going to grow by the more that you support other people. And if you're not supporting them, then all I can say is you need to get out of the way, because certain people are going certain places. And when they've got the hand of God on them and they know they're going places, those doors aren't always going to be open. So you need to remember how you're treating people, because people will remember how you made them feel. And if you don't make them feel when you're going through the winter stages of struggle, you're not going to get to enjoy the summer stages of the success with those people, because they're gone.
wow, what a strong ending, Glenn. Thank you so much. I said earlier that I should stop, as you said, stop thanking you. It's just unbelievable how much support you've given me, how changed I am. I'm a different person. I am open, willing to say yes, something that I learned just 2 days ago, just being open to new opportunities, just having my heart open. And God bless you for everything that you do. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I am trying to make a non-teary ending, but it's kind of impossible. Thank you very much for all your wisdom, for being with us and just sharing your amazing story. And to everyone watching us and listening to us, have a talk with Glenn. You need to see what it means to have the big picture in life. Let's face it, we want a lifestyle. We just want to be living a fulfilling existence. We don't just want a business because you want a family. You want to have the people around you be nourished. But this means that you need to put yourself first and nourish your heart first. So go to Glenn again on glennmarsden.com. On Imperfectly Perfect Campaign, you can find him on Instagram, Glenn Marsden on Instagram as well, Glenn Marsden on LinkedIn, and Glenn Marsden on Facebook. I am truly amazed that when I go on social media, I have a whole new experience because I have got to say thank you to the algorithms that bring your stories in front of my eyes on a regular. It's such a whole new vibe that social media gives you when you go into the good side of the algorithm and actually have wisdom and lessons and phenomenal energy that supports you in everything that you do. So have a talk with Glenn. Again, Glenn, thank you. It has been phenomenal. I am
You're welcome.
So honored for today. And I look forward to seeing more of the amazing things that you are creating. So God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you for having me.